Part 31. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 301. Chapter 301 The Secret of Kongxue. The Prince of Zhaoqiagong looks like Taoist priest Qing Yang. Isn't it possible? How is it impossible? If you have seen them, you will know that what I said is true. Hey, you didn't tell me that. I haven't noticed it yet. Now that you said it, I remembered that I saw Mrs. Zhaoqiagong several times when I came to offer incense. The woman looked left and right, then turned back and lowered her voice. Do you think the Prince of Zhaoqiagong was really the result of an affair between the Duke's wife and Taoist priest Qing Yang? Who knows if that's true. Anyway, there are a few couples in our village and the neighboring village who couldn't get pregnant for several years after getting married. Instead, they came to Kongxue to ask for a child, and they got pregnant not long after they returned. Tisk, tisk, those children didn't look like their father after they were born. Well, it's not from them. How can it be possible to follow their appearance? Everyone said that the Kongxue was efficacious and that the Taoist master had great magic skills. Unexpectedly, he did things like male prostitutes and female thieves behind his back. It really brings shame to all the Taoist priests in the world. The women were standing behind the crowd, unaware that Ling Chu's spirit was watching them, speaking more and more energetically. The old woman earlier was slapping her thighs, cursing and crying. It wasn't long before several more Taoist priests came and drove her down the mountain. Because of this commotion and the gossip, many women stopped coming to the temple to burn incense and left in twos and threes. Ling Chu did some calculations again and followed the instructions to introduce the Kongxue view. We arrived at a beautifully decorated Taoist temple. There was no one at the door, and it was quiet inside the courtyard. But Ling Chu heard a blushing and heart-pounding sound in front of a room. Subconsciously, he wanted to turn around and leave, but found that the moaning sound sounded familiar. Somewhat like Han Yao's voice. I was about to listen carefully again, but the woman lost her voice again. It was true that the man kept saying obscene words, but the voice was very unfamiliar. She must have never seen him before. Ling Chu was a little unsure. Han Yao was the emperor's personally appointed county head, and she was still in the boudoir. Ordinarily, he would not hang out with those Taoist priests in the Taoist temple. But her hexagram clearly points in this direction. Ling Chu hesitated for a moment, then raised his foot and walked through the wall. This is a dormitory, and a man and a woman are making movements on the bed. The man is wearing a bun, and the woman is quite young. It is Han Yao. Ling Chu's eyes fell on the doggy man and woman, and he quickly noticed that they had two different auras. As expected, they were the ones who robbed her of her merit and luck. Ling Chu raised his hand to seal the secret. Unexpectedly, as soon as she started casting the spell, a strong force suddenly ejected her. The Taoist priest on the bed suddenly turned his head. Who? Ling Chu quickly dodged and entered the space. Han Yao looked panicked. Did someone find out what happened to us? Taoist priest Ming Zhen turned around, touched her body with his hand, and comforted her. Don't be afraid, it's just a blind ghost that broke in. Han Yao's face changed and she wanted to get out of bed and get dressed. Taoist master Ming Zhen is on the verge of success, so he is reluctant to let go. Han Yao wanted to struggle, but the more she struggled, the more excited Taoist master Ming Zhen became. Soon, there was another groan inside. Unexpectedly, the outside of this house looked normal, but there was a formation inside. She was careless. This Han Yao really surprised her. She actually got together with a Taoist priest who was old enough to be her grandfather. That person is probably Taoist master Ming Zhen. In her current state, she cannot confront the opponent head-on, and she doesn't want to die without taking revenge. It seems that she can only take action after Han Yao leaves Kongxue Temple. The two people inside were getting into each other again. From the sound of the sound, it probably wouldn't end soon, so Ling Chu simply left the yard. I don't know if what those women said is true. Ling Chu decided to have a closer look in Kongsu Temple. If she could find any clue, she would definitely expose the Taoist priest of Kongsu Temple. The system almost exhausted its energy in order to protect her life, so Ling Chu did not use the system to scan. She planned to find it herself. It's just that she is in the state of a soul now and does not dare to be careless. She must be cautious when exploring. But she didn't expect that this investigation would actually let her find out the secret. After a cup of tea, Ling Chu found a man in a remote utility room in Kongsugwan. The man had passed out, his hands and feet were tied with ropes, and his face was blue and purple. He must have been beaten. Looking again, I found that one of the legs was broken. I don't know if this man is the son that the old woman was looking for just now. Since the man's identity was not confirmed, Ling Chu did not rush to rescue him. The man's legs were broken, and even if she revived him, he wouldn't be able to escape. Ling Chu was worried that if the Taoist priests found out that he was trying to escape, they might beat him to death. We can only wait until we regain the luck and merit, and then find a way to save him. Leaving the utility room, Ling Chu met 6 Taoist priests. This is Kongsugwan. It is not surprising to meet a Taoist priest. It was just their conversation that attracted her immediately. I heard that this time there is a Tofuzishi who is as beautiful as a flower and has a graceful figure. She hasn't gotten pregnant even after 3 years of marriage. I didn't expect that this time it would be an advantage for us. I prefer Madame Zhang in the satin shop. Her eyes look like they are capable of seducing people. These two are pretty good, but they are not as good as the Li family concubine. I heard that the concubine of the Li family was originally from a brothel. Not only did she have an attractive figure and appearance, but she also seduced people with every move she made. The ditty he sings is nice, and his skills in bed are well known. Then Master Li ransomed her back, but he wanted to sleep in her yard every night. But he didn't expect that even though he worked hard day and night, the concubine didn't get pregnant. Fortunately, Mr. Li can't do it, otherwise we wouldn't have the chance to see that concubine's figure. Well, at Mr. Li's age, how could his concubine still be pregnant? What's the point? We still have us. Don't say that I want to have one child. If she wants to have 10 or 8 children, that's no problem. Ha ha ha, that's not true. Mr. Li's wife does not have a son. When the concubine gives birth to a son, all the property of the Li family will belong to the concubine. The concubine and her son eat meat, so we can get a share of the pie no matter what. Go quickly, quickly. I'm really itching to hear what you said. Let's make a deal first. I want that lady, and you don't want to take it from me. Don't worry, I won't hear from you. I want the concubine of the Li family. I still prefer that Tofu 11 she. Her figure is no worse than that of Li's concubine. The Taoist priests were joking and walking away, unaware that Ling Chu's soul was following far behind. Soon we entered a large hall built underground. The hall was filled with incense and enshrined a statue of the who gave birth to his son. In front of the statue, there are 5 or 6 women. They must have been sincerely begging for a child to the of child giving. But at this moment they all fainted and were lying on the ground unaware of anything. The Taoist priests entered the temple and began to undress and take off their belts impatiently. Thanks to Happy Baby, 201703141433123117 and other book friends for their monthly support. Thank you all. 201703181914308835, Dao EB 202210011234434449, Why We Grow Old, 202,210 Laugh with you at this moment, 201811281000506706, Evening Breeze M Kingsha Makeup, Aswas 1000, Silently Blessing UN1 MRS and Lou, Bet Taxa Can't Wake Up, Dusty Memory, Blue Ice Rain Love. ed. Lanianjiang, 200908111, Tadpole Rotten Tail, Panax Noto Ginseng. db. 861358, Forget Me Not, Morning Glory Under the Scorching Sun, Seongbin, Prose. ba. Tie the hair to receive immortality, tie the hair to receive immortality, why we grow old, 1402121840214228, 641417, Jianghuze Liquor Store, China Fuse, Lihuanqing, 1601121917225574, 202304281115555836. It is supported by the recommendation votes of book friends such as Ixixi, Colorful Life, CHLWCH, Bamboo Spirit Fire, Daoyo, EB, etc. Thanks to Hungzio and Xiaoxiang for supporting book friends. End of this chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 302. The women fainted, and the Taoist priests began to take off their clothes as soon as they entered the temple. You will know what you are going to do at a glance. Looking at the situation, they didn't even plan to separate, but planned to do it together in the temple. From their words, we can know that they are used to doing these things and are accustomed to them. What the old woman said before turned out to be true. These Taoist priests who rushed to Suguan are really a bunch of beasts in disguise. Ding. Ask the host to carry out a rescue mission and obtain merit. The system's energy is almost exhausted and the beep is very weak. It would be fine if he didn't see it. Now that he had seen it, Ling Chu couldn't watch those women being destroyed. After a quick look around, this underground hall is in a remote location and is built in a hidden place. It seems that the pilgrims are not allowed to come here at all. No one was guarding the palace gate. However, a formation was set up in the temple. The Taoist priest who rushed to Suguan probably did too many bad things. He was afraid that after those people died unjustly, they would turn into ghosts and come to take revenge on them, so they set up the formation. Seeing the Taoist priests taking off their outer robes and then raising their hands to take off their inner clothes, Ling Chu could only raise his hands to seal the seal. First he destroyed the formation, then quickly summoned a small hammer and knocked the Taoist priests unconscious. Looking at the women who were still unconscious, Ling Chu hit them a few times with a small hammer, but they didn't move at all. This must have been drugged by those Taoist priests. Ling Chu could only take a bottle of medicine from the system, open it, put it on the noses of the women and smoke it. Not long after, the women woke up. When I opened my eyes, I saw the Taoist priests taking off their clothes, and a woman screamed in fright. Ling Chu frowned, but luckily another woman next to him rushed over and covered the screaming woman's mouth. Several people supported each other and left the hall in a panic. Ling Chu didn't pay any more attention, turned around and left from the other side. While passing by a dilapidated courtyard, I saw a thick yin energy. There were even shrill and eerie sounds coming out. This courtyard looked wrong at first glance, but Ling Chu did not go in. Curiosity killed the cat. She can't act rashly now. Ling Chu only looked at it for a few times before turning and leaving. They suddenly saw Han Yao and the Taoist priest coming out from behind the wall. The Taoist priest glanced from head to toe with an unkind look, and said coldly, "Are you Xianyi's young disciple, the eldest daughter of the former Hubei Shangshu mansion, Ling Chu?" Ling Chu asked instead, "Are you the Taoist Ming Zhen?" "It's Pandeo. I didn't expect you to be lucky. You didn't even die. Master has always taught me to respect the old and love the young. Considering your age, I will give in and let you die first." Han Yao snorted coldly, "You have a tough mouth, you bitch. I want to see how you die this time." This Han Yao can actually see her soul. It seems that the old man used cow tears on her. "Who are you calling a bitch? Do your parents know that you are such a bitch?" Han Yao's expression changed, and she was suspicious. Could it be that this discovered her affair with Taoist priest Mingzhen? Taoist priest Mingzhen glanced at the gloomy room, turned around and said coldly, "Since Miss Ling is here and I am here, I can stay with them. Your Taoist temple is so smelly. I'm afraid I'll be suffocated to death, so I won't bother." Taoist priest Mingzhen's face darkened. Hand-pinching, densely packed ghosts suddenly floated out from the dilapidated and gloomy house. If Xianyi knew that his young disciple's soul was eaten alive by ghosts like Pandeo, would he feel distressed? Ling Chu's heart sank. There were so many ghosts in Kongsu Temple. Even though there were big shovels and small hammers, the ghosts were not affected much. Even if they were knocked away, they quickly rushed back. Han Yao had a proud smile on her face. Ling Chu endured the dizziness, gritted his teeth, cast a protective spell, changed the direction of the shovel, and rushed towards Taoist master Mingzhen. Mingzhen Taoist waved his long-sleeved robe and said coldly, "You are so talented, but you dare to do it in front of a poor Taoist." It was just a big shovel, and Taoist master Mingzhen didn't take it seriously. "I thought I could destroy the shovel just by casting a random spell." Unexpectedly, he underestimated its power. The shovel broke through his spell and smashed directly into it. Taoist priest Mingzhen's expression changed. Hurrying to cast spells to resist. But he was still knocked backwards by the shovel. The system energy is about to be exhausted, and the power of the shovel is greatly reduced. Unfortunately, it cannot kill the old man. Han Yao was shocked when she saw Taoist master Mingzhen being hit, and subconsciously wanted to run away. Ling Chu waved his hand and hit the small hammer quickly. Even if she couldn't get her luck back, she still wanted to kill Han Yao. "Taoist master, save me." Taoist master Mingzhen had just been injured by a big shovel, so he didn't dare to be careless about the small hammer. As for Han Yao, he had just acquired it, which was when he was very fresh. As long as he keeps her, he will still have a big role to play. Ling Chu struck with all his strength, and saw that the small hammer was about to hit Han Yao. But he was blocked by Taoist priest Mingzhen's spell. Continuously casting spells, Ling Chu's soul became a little weaker. The shield transformed by magic was crumbling under the impact of the hundreds of ghosts. Just when Ling Chu was about to bite his index finger and draw an attack symbol with blood, the system suddenly rang. Ding. Absorb a piece of high-grade energy stone. Ding. Absorb a medium-grade energy stone. Ding. Absorb 3 high-grade energy stones. Ling Chu made a move. Where did he get the energy stone? Doubts flashed through her heart, and she threw them aside. As the system absorbs more and more energy, Ling Chu's soul is slowly solidifying. Wei Feng stood outside the door expressionlessly. Although there is nothing visible on his face, he is actually scratching his heart with 100 claws. His eyes glanced at Ling Chu's bedroom from time to time. Although the door is open, nothing can be seen. Wei Feng was really unbearable to be curious. Miss Ling was unconscious, and the master rushed back without sleep, and actually ordered Yin Sha to take all the jade pendants from his warehouse. Those jade pendants, except for a few pieces from the Ningguo Duke's mansion, most of which were given to everyone in the mansion by the emperor, were given by the emperor. "I don't know what you're going to do with it now." Wei Feng was curious, but he didn't dare to go in and take a look. Unable to hold back, he stretched out his hand and pulled Yin Sha's sleeve next to him, and nuzzled towards the dormitory. Yin Sha saw the curiosity in his eyes, but said nothing. Instead, he took a few steps away in disgust. This Wei Feng must be confused in his head. "If you go in and disturb your lord at this time, you are seeking death." Since Ning Chui entered the dormitory, he asked the maids from Xiaji to go out. Now, there are only him and Ling Chu inside. To avoid suspicion, Ning Chui did not close the door. Ling Chu was lying on the bed, his face as white as snow. The breathing was weak, as if it would stop the next moment. Ning Chui sat on the brocade stool in front of the bed and placed the jade pendants piece by piece into Ling Chu's palm. Seeing those jade pendants disappearing piece by piece, Ling Chu showed no sign of waking up. There was still no color on his face. Ning Chui leaned forward slightly and listened carefully. Does your breathing seem better than before? You are listening to novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 303. Ning Chui observed carefully for a while and found that although Ling Chu was still awake, his breathing was indeed a little stronger than before. Wei Feng waited for half an hour and felt that waiting was not an option. I was hesitating whether to go in and tell Ning Chui, and then go find Sun Yuan Zheng to come over to diagnose and treat Ling Chu. But I heard him shout, "Yin Sha." Hearing that Ning Chui only called Yin Sha, Wei Feng glared at him dissatisfied. Why don't you look for him? Why do you always look for that boring gourd of Yin Sha? Of course it's because you talk too much. Yin Sha glanced at him with disgust. His body flashed and he entered the bedroom. Sir, what are your orders? Take the silver notes in the sandalwood box in the study to the Jade Pavilion to buy jade, and be quick. Yin Sha was startled. There were 100,000 taels in the sandalwood box. That was all Ning Chui's money. Sir, can you buy jade with all 100,000 yuan? Ning Chui frowned, looked away from Ling Chu, and turned around. Yin Sha always understands his thoughts best and can get things done without him having to say much. Yin Sha's heart skipped a beat, and he immediately knew that he had made the same mistake as Wei Feng. I will go immediately. Yin Sha ducked away. Wei Feng Gang glanced at his back with gloating eyes. Suddenly he looked up at the sky with a puzzled look on his face. It was still sunny, why did it suddenly become a bit gloomy? Other guards also felt something was wrong and looked a little serious. Just then, a creepy Gigi laughter suddenly came from the sky above the yard. Wei Feng drew out his long sword, dodged and flew up to the wall, but saw no one. Bang, 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 there was obviously no one, but there were continuous crashing sounds in the sky above the yard. All guards drew their swords and were on full alert. Ning Chui frowned, glanced at the still unconscious person, turned around and left the dormitory. Everyone was looking up at the sky, but except for the crashing sound and the terrifying and eerie Gigi smile, nothing could be seen. Xiaoji's face changed. There is a ghost hitting the protective shield the girl put up. Ning Chui withdrew her gaze and looked at Xiaoji. What did Miss Ling say before she fell into coma? Xiaoji shook his head. The girl suddenly fainted and didn't have time to say anything. This protective shield was put up by the girl when she just moved here from Ling Mansion. Wei Feng's face was ugly. They were not afraid of assassins, but those ghosts, no matter how powerful their martial arts were, they couldn't defeat them. Xiaoji didn't know what to do. After hesitating for a while, he hurried to the study and came back quickly with a stack of talismans. Sir, this is the amulet the girl drew before it can drive away ghosts. Xiaoji took a piece of talisman paper for each guard, and gave the rest to Ning Chui. Sir, these talismans are all for the girl. There are not many talisman papers. After dividing the guards, there are only 5 talismans left. All of them were given to Ling Chu, but not those maids and women. Don't worry, sir. We all have amulets. The girl gave each of us one amulet before. Ning Chui nodded, took the amulets and turned back to the dormitory. Not a single one was left behind, all of them were placed on Ling Chu. Now we can only wait for Yin Sha to buy the jade and bring it over so that Ling Chu can wake up quickly. The ghosts are still hitting one after another, and the protective shield is crumbling. The summer solstice is extremely urgent. If this continues, the protective shield will soon be broken. Although Wei Feng and the others are highly skilled in martial arts, they don't understand mysticism and can't even see ghosts, so how can they do anything? Thinking about it, apart from Ling Chu, only shopkeeper Lu can see the ghost. The protective shield is getting weaker and weaker, and now we can only act as a living doctor. Xiaoji gritted his teeth and rushed into the dormitory, cerning, shopkeeper Lu is born with yin and yang eyes. He can see ghosts. Can you send someone to pick him up? Maybe he can find a way to deal with those ghosts. Ning Chui turned around and left the dormitory. Yang Yun, the subordinate is here. Go to the UN tower quickly to pick up shopkeeper Lu. Yes, Yang Huawei was also worried. Although he was not afraid of death, those ghosts made it impossible for them to do anything. Yang Yun used the fastest speed, and shopkeeper Lu was knocked upside down on horseback until his face turned pale. When I got to the door, I started to vomit while holding onto the wall. Just after vomiting, I suddenly heard a loud noise. Shopkeeper Lu was so frightened that he forgot to vomit. He subconsciously looked up at the sky. More than a dozen ghosts broke through the protective shield and rushed into Ling Chu's house with their teeth and claws. Shopkeeper Lu raised his feet and rushed towards the yard. Yang Yun couldn't see the ghost, but he knew something was wrong. He jumped up, grabbed shopkeeper Lu's arm, lifted it up, and flew towards the inner courtyard using Qinggong. More than a dozen ghosts rushed into Ling Chu's yard. Shopkeeper Lu hurriedly took out a piece of talisman paper and threw it at the ghosts. But he didn't understand occult arts, so those talisman papers were so light that they fell down all of a sudden. Ning Chui ducked and took the talisman. Here I go, tell me where they are. Shopkeeper Lu was overjoyed and hurriedly handed over all the talismans. The ghosts saw the guards in the yard and rushed over ferociously. But it was blocked by the amulets on their bodies. After several failed attempts, the ghosts gave up guarding and turned around and rushed toward Ling Chu's dormitory. They want to the girl's body. Shopkeeper Lu hurriedly raised his hand and said, "Sir, it's at the door." Although Ning Chui didn't understand mystical arts, he poured his inner energy into the talisman paper and quickly threw it in the direction of shopkeeper Lu's finger. The talisman fell on the ghost, howled miserably, and quickly retreated from the door. Shopkeeper Lu was overjoyed. "Sir, on the left. The right side. Window." Ning Chui followed shopkeeper Lu's instructions and hit the ghosts without missing a single talisman. It's a pity that he doesn't know mystical skills, so he uses internal power. The talisman did not exert its full effect. Although the ghosts were injured, they could not be killed. There aren't many talismans left in my hand. If this continues, I'm afraid the talismans will be gone before those ghosts can be beaten away. Ning Chui remembered that Ling Chu had whipped Yinhun with Bodhi whip, and her heart moved. "Xiaoji, go and get Miss Ling's whip." "Good." Xiaoji hurriedly went to get the Bodhi whip, and accidentally saw the bamboo basket where Ling Chu was loading things. He rushed over and picked up a bottle. "Sir, these are cow tears. The girl said that if you put them on your eyes, you can see ghosts." Ning Chui hurriedly took the bottle. There is only one drop in the bottle. Without hesitation, he poured it into his hands and wiped it on his eyes. Hand the talisman paper to Wei Feng. With a light move, he wields the Bodhi whip and hits the ghost. Although the other guards slashed with swords, they could not hurt the ghosts at all. They are all evil spirits. Instead of leaving after being injured, they became even more frantic and attacked Ling Chu's dormitory. Soon, the Wei Feng talisman paper ran out. Ning Chui's face was cold, and the Bodhi whip in his hand was hard and fast. But those evil puppets were like crazy, and their attacks became more and more crazier. The wound on Ning Chui's arm soon burst open, and blood flowed down the arm and dripped onto the whip. The whip hit the ghost, and a thick smell of smoke came out. The evil puppet screamed and finally backed away. Thanks to the monthly votes of 2022101609442852 and 16050112003035 for their support. Thanks to 0902040151000343, White Clouds in the Sky, Clothes, Perfect Track, Kingsha Makeup, Feng Mo Boy, Staring into the Distance to See Junbuki, The Universe in the Corner, Goat Song and Eyes, Fairy Tales, All Living Beings, Benjiang East Lake Investment, Chungqing Laoxi, Care, Panax Noto Ginseng. DB, Unreasonable, Jianghu Zeju Shop, Xianbin, Enlightenment, 202-303-2718. Ad, Blue Ice Rain Love. Ed, UN 1, 2018032215045487, Kingsha Makeup, Happy Baby. 20211014093303002, Evening Breeze Carrot, China Soda Drink, Xiayan, Free Walking Taurus, China Fuse, 20230121012702243. Panax Noto Ginseng. DB, Zinkson Mama, Brink, 1601121917225574, 20230428111555836, 854729, Yinchi, Lanianjiang. Chinsk, Frightened Crane Ferry, Yuanlei Iwan, 20230730113702642, Pros. BA, Pros. BA, CHLWCH, 20200226180951255, Lalang Zixi, This Moment, Laugh With You, Zhen Dazwang, Book Friends Iome, Eden of the East, Silent Blessings, by Huajin and other book friends recommend and vote for support. I Made a Fortune by Raiding Houses in Ancient Times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 304. Chapter 304. The soul is in disarray. Ning Chui was startled, glanced at the retreating ghost, and then lowered his head to look at his arm. At the location where he was cut by the assassin on the road, although hemostatic medicine was applied, the wound just burst open and the blood was flowing down his arm. Ning Chui switched the whip to his left hand, raised his right hand, and pressed it on the wound on his left arm. Blood came out all of a sudden. Sir! Wei Feng was stunned and subconsciously rushed over to stop him. Ning Chui ignored it and quickly covered the entire whip with blood except for the handle. Wei Feng couldn't see Yin Hun, nor could he see that Ning Chui's blood could restrain Yin Hun. He didn't know what he was going to do, but he couldn't stop it. Nearly going crazy with anxiety. If the emperor knew that Ning Chui had committed suicide, he would definitely kill all the guards. Shopkeeper Lu glanced at Ning Chui with complicated eyes and explained to Wei Feng, Master Ning's blood can restrain the ghost. Shopkeeper Lu's explanation did not make Wei Feng feel good. At this moment, he actually felt that Ning Chui was crazy. Even worse than those foolish kings who only want beauties but not the country. He doesn't even want his life. Wei Feng looked at him suspiciously. He felt that it wasn't just Ning Chui who was crazy. He himself went crazy. Because at this moment, he actually had a ridiculous idea in his mind. Is this still the adult he knew? Could it be that someone switched the package? Ning Chui didn't know what Wei Feng was thinking, but even if he knew, he would probably ignore it. Seeing that the evil puppets were still trying to break into Ling Chu's bedroom, he rushed over with the Bodhi whip. The evil puppets who were whipped by the blood-stained Bodhi whip were all injured. Although they retreated some distance, they did not leave. It's just that there was a female puppet who was very vicious and didn't move away even when she was hit by Ning Chui's whip. If Ling Chu's soul hadn't set up a formation in his house before leaving, the female puppet would have rushed in. Seeing that she was still hitting the formation, Ning Chui quickly dipped the whip in blood and hit her hard. The female puppet made a series of sizzling sounds on her body, hers several times in pain, and finally took a few steps away. He turned around and glared at Ning Chui fiercely. Seeing that he had no expression on his face, he came over again with a whip. The female puppet had no choice but to retreat back. But he did not leave. Instead, he waved his sleeve and passed it in front of him. After putting down her hand, the female puppet changed her appearance. The original green face and fangs are gone, and she has become a beautiful woman with an alluring appearance. The red dress she was wearing was also replaced by another set of skirts, and her makeup was exquisite. Changed from the previous gloomy and terrifying look, her eyebrows and eyes were seductive, and she floated towards Ning Chui in a charming manner. Even the voice has a seductive flavor. "Sir, is the slave good looking?" Ning Chui did not move and stood quietly, looking as if he was fascinated. Seeing him staring at her continuously, the female puppet was secretly happy. No matter who he is, he can't escape her grasp. The smile on the female puppet's face became more and more attractive. She floated in front of Ning Chui and stretched out her arms to wrap her arms around his neck. Seeing that Ning Chui was fascinated, shopkeeper Lu looked anxious and was about to rush forward to remind him at all costs. Ning Chui suddenly moved. Secretly pouring his inner strength into the whip, he waved his hand, and the whip struck the female puppet with fierce momentum. The female puppet thought that Ning Chui was fascinated by her, but she didn't know that he was just pretending. Caught off guard, he was knocked backwards by the whip. Shopkeeper Lu breathed a sigh of relief. The female puppet touched the deep whip marks on her face, her aura changed, and she returned to her previous sinister aura, glaring at Ning Chui with a look of resentment. Suddenly he raised his head and let out a long, sharp scream. There was a shrill scream in the distance, as if responding to the female puppet's call. Ning Chui frowned, feeling uneasy in his heart. The body suddenly lifted up, and he quickly swung the whip towards the female puppet again. Having just been whipped, the female puppet became alert and hurriedly backed away before Ning Chui could hit her. After being whipped several times by Ning Chui, the female puppet's screams became more and more urgent, and the shrill ghostly cries in the distance came from far to near. Soon, a large group of ghosts rushed into Ling Chu's yard. The female puppet in red screamed at them several times, and the ghosts immediately rushed towards Ning Chui. Seeing that Ning Chui was surrounded by them, the female puppet in red turned around and rushed towards Ling Chu's house with a ferocious expression. Shopkeeper Lu's expression changed drastically, and he rushed over to stop him, but was knocked away by the female puppet in red. Wei Feng and the other guards were anxious, but they had no way to kill the ghosts. Just as he was getting anxious, an angry shout suddenly came from behind him, "You bunch of lonely ghosts, how dare you come here to Xiaoxi's body? It seems you don't even want to be a ghost." Wei Feng turned around and saw a handsome white-robed young man who was slovenly and dusty, rushing towards him with an angry look on his face. He took out a handful of talismans and threw them at the ghosts. The seemingly unorganized movement, but not a single talisman failed. The ghost that was hit by the talisman let out a sharp howl of pain, and was gone in the blink of an eye. When the other puppet souls saw this, they were so frightened that they left Ning Chui behind, turned around, and wanted to flee. "Want to escape?" the young man in white snorted coldly. Immediately took out 4 small red flags and threw them into the sky. Following the quick gesture, the flags flew in 4 directions, spinning rapidly around the Ling Chu courtyard. Those ghosts who wanted to escape were all blocked back. The female puppet in red screamed in anger. "Command the other puppet souls to rush towards him." The young man in white was not afraid at all and shouted at Ning Chui, "Who is it? Get out of the way." Ning Chui glanced at the other party and silently stepped aside. The young man in white rolled up his sleeves and threw the talisman in his hand at the rushing ghost like a goddess scattering flowers. With the ear-piercing screams, the ghosts were all driven away one after another. The remaining female ghost in red stared at the young man in white with an evil look on her face. "You've killed so many ghosts, so you're not afraid of getting involved in karma and ruining your own merit and luck. The young master in white said carelessly, if I were afraid, I would not take action. I might as well tell you that I have countless merits and fortunes, and the Lord of Hell will not dare to take my life. The ghost girl in red was so angry that she waved her sleeves and turned into that beautiful woman again. But before she could resort to seduction, the young man in white said with a look of disgust, ugly people tend to do mischief. You are an ugly monster. No matter how you change, you will remain ugly. I am not blind, and I will not fall in love with such an ugly ghost like you. Ning Chui and the others twitched their eyelids. This young man was handsome, but they didn't expect him to have such a vicious tongue. The female puppet in red was so angry that he called her ugly and ugly. No longer pretending, he turned back into a green-faced fang, stretched out his arms, and pounced towards him with the tips of his fingers. The young man didn't blink an eyelid, and waved out a stack of talisman papers. Blast the female ghost in red to pieces. P.S. I didn't feel well and went to the doctor today. I spent a lot of time queuing up for examinations and getting the results. There is only one update today, sorry everyone. Thanks to the wind blowing with a smile, 1212122001, yayo, 2022101609442852, 1209021345211223, Silver Star, Ovoawe monthly ticket thanks to Li Huanqing, 20090811, 202301052008363119, Seeing Lian Yu, 1208071408423884, 152162035296889, Bet Taxa Can't Wake Up, Ixixi, Mu Fengzi, Daoyo. EB, Why We Grow Old, The Perfect Trajectory, Colorful Life, and the Brilliance of Life. 0902040151003343, Yili, Jula N, 1402121840214228, Yunyun Zongshen, Shiyang, Lu Tiandeo, Yayayao, Jula N, 201703181914308335, The Story of the Song of the Goat and the Eyes, UN 1, Fairy Tale, Nini. CB, Evening Breeze Sankai. DB, 20090811, Seeing Lian Yu, Penyong Fang, Lanian Jiang, Chinese Soft Drinks, Silent Blessings, Yinchi, Eden of the East, By Taxi Can't Wake Up, Yu Laoxi, 202304281115555836, Fatty Nose Qinggong, Sun Xiaolan Sun, Lan Yunhong, 2023010520083639, Huiwai.ea, Xianbin, 1601121917222574, Li Huanqing, Baiyun L in the Sky, Hacked Book Friends Keep Re-Signing, 2022112309150525 and other book friends support. End of this chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 305. Taoist priest Ming Zhen opened his mouth and spit out a mouthful of blood. My heart was full of surprise and uncertainty. That Ling Chu's soul was obviously separated from her body. He sent so many ghosts to her body, but not only failed. He was actually bitten back. Who is protecting her body? Ling Chu was shocked when he saw him vomiting blood. It's a pity that she is still besieged by those ghosts and can't take action to deal with him. Her soul was getting weaker and weaker, but she didn't expect that the system absorbed the energy stone from somewhere, which restored her soul. She only killed 1/3 of the hundreds of ghosts. If this continues, her soul may soon be unable to hold on. She saw Han Yao with his back to her, holding Taoist priest Ming Zhen and talking about something. Ling Chu quickly controlled the small hammer and hit her. Unfortunately, Taoist master Ming Zhen discovered it and pushed Han Yao aside. Han Yao was caught off guard and fell to the ground. Seeing that Taoist master Mingzhen was about to cast a spell, Ling Chu quickly turned the small hammer around and hit Han Yao again. Unfortunately, he was blocked by Na Mingzhen, and the small hammer failed to kill Han Yao. Just broke one of her legs. Han Yao let out a scream, rolled her eyes, and fainted. Taoist priest Mingzhen stared at Ling Chu with a gloomy expression. Cast the spell again to activate those ghosts to her soul. The young man in white wiped out all the ghosts, raised his hands to seal the secrets, and took back the formation flag. The shrill cries of ghosts and howls of wolves have disappeared, the dark wind has dispersed, and the original refreshing air has returned. Everyone breathed a sigh of relief. The young man in white glanced at the maids, women, and guards one by one, and finally landed on Ning Chui. Sweep him up and down. Ning Chui's whole body was filled with air conditioning. For the sake of killing those ghosts, let him take a look. The young man in white frowned when he saw the Bodhi whip in his hand, and then raised his eyebrows again when he saw the blood on the whip. I do not understand Suanchi, and I use my own blood to restrain the soul. This is a ruthless person. I am a little curious about his identity, but this is not the time to inquire. Where is my fourth child? Hearing his title, Ning Chui frowned, holding back his displeasure, and said in a cold voice, "May I ask who the young master is?" The young man in white was a little surprised when he saw that he didn't recognize him. But he quickly realized that he didn't remember how many years it had been since he returned to Beijing, and it was normal that he didn't recognize him. This is Qing Feng, Ling Chu's third senior brother, is my junior in the house. Xiaji looked surprised. So you are the girl's third senior brother? The young man in white clothes nodded towards Xiaji. Looking at her dress, he guessed that she was Ling Chu's maid. The girl is in the dormitory. The young man in white didn't wait for her to finish speaking, and immediately walked into the house. Ning Chui pursed her lips and followed in silently. Qing Feng quickly walked to the bed, looked down, and frowned slightly. It turns out that the little junior sister's soul has left her body. No wonder the master sent him a message asking him to return to Beijing as quickly as possible to find the junior sister. He had to retrieve the little junior sister's soul as soon as possible. If the delay was too long, Xiaoxi would be in danger. When the master and the others return to Beijing, he may suffer. Qing Feng shuddered when he thought of the methods of the two senior brothers above. Immediately turned to Xiaji and told Xiaji, "Hurry up and get someone to the door and bring my luggage in." He hurried back to the capital, figured out the location of his junior sister, and searched for her without stopping. As soon as she arrived at the door, she noticed something was wrong with her house, and immediately rushed in to deal with the ghosts. In such a hurry, he didn't even have time to pick up his luggage, which was still on the horse outside the gate. Xiaji responded, and just as she was about to turn around and go out, she saw Lu Xiangji coming in carrying a rattan box. It turned out that the woman guarding the gate knew that the young man in white was Ling Chu's senior brother, so she took his horse to the stable and brought in the luggage. Qing Feng stepped forward to take the box, first took out a few magic weapons and placed them, then turned around and asked Xiaji to get a basin of water. After washing your hands, take out 3 sticks of sandalwood, light them, and insert them into a small and exquisite incense burner. Seeing that he was about to perform rituals, Xiaji took the other maids and left. Ning Chui also walked out, but he did not go out, but stood at the door. Qing Feng only glanced at it casually and then looked away. Start to focus on casting spells. Soon, he stopped. Seeing his deep frown, Ning Chui took a few steps forward and asked, "But what problem did you encounter?" Qing Feng raised her eyes and glanced at him without hiding anything. "Xiaoxi's soul left her body, but I can't bring it back. She's probably trapped by something." "No way." "There is a way. I can forcefully bring her back. But her health is not good to begin with, and now her soul is unstable. I'm worried that her 3 souls and 6 souls will fail." Ning Chui also frowned. Is there no other way? Unless someone can help her soul out of trouble, I can bring her back. This is the safest way and will not cause any harm to her. Ling Chu is now in a state of soul. If he wants to find her, the person looking for him must also leave his body. Qing Feng was in a bit of a dilemma. Originally, he could go find it by himself. But the ghosts he killed just now were obviously controlled by people, and the person behind them was probably the one who trapped the little junior sister's soul. It seems that the other party not only wants to trap her soul, but also wants to let those evil puppets rob her body. He was worried that if his soul left, the people behind him would send ghosts again, and no one here could stop him. Ning Chui pursed her lips and said, "Let me go. What needs to be done to get Miss Ling back intact? Can I ask, who are you? This man is majestic and looks a little different from Xiao Si. He doesn't look like her elder brother." "I am the commander of the Jinyi Guards, Ning Chui." Qing Feng was surprised. He turned out to be the eldest son of Ning Qiagong. Qing Feng frowned when he thought of the rumor. His eyes fell on his arm. Although the guards had bandaged his wounds just now, he had clearly used his own blood to restrain the ghosts. The blood of ordinary people cannot restrain the ghosts. Looking carefully, although Ning Chui had a lot of evil energy on his body, he was not suppressed by another air. "Why do you want to save Xiaosi? Your Majesty knows that Miss Ling is a disciple of Master Xianyi, and has always asked me to protect Miss Ling's safety secretly." Qing Feng had no doubts about his words. After all, he knew that the emperor had always wanted his master to be the national master. "Did you know that if you want to save Xiaosi, you have to leave your body to find her? If you are not careful, it is possible that you will not be able to come back." Ning Chui looked at him steadily and said quietly, "As long as you are here, I believe you will not let anything happen to Miss Ling." Qing Feng raised her hand and patted his shoulder. "Don't worry, I'm here and I won't let anything happen to you. Forget it, no matter what his identity is, as long as he can help him rescue Xiao Si." Ning Chui glanced at him and resisted the urge to use his arm to him. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 306. Qing Feng saw that he was holding back and twitched the corners of his mouth. He wanted to put his arms on his shoulders. But after thinking about it, I decided to forget it. It's not that I'm afraid of him. Just hope that he can rescue Xiao Si, but it's better not to make anyone angry. In case he does not care, he has to die in person in order to save Xiao Si. Although he is a Taoist, he doesn't like to have his soul leave his body, just like the last time he died. Qing Feng retracted his hand. But he couldn't help but curse in his heart. Ning Chui obviously didn't like to be touched by others, but he didn't say it out loud, so he had to endure it by himself. Why bother? If it were him, he wouldn't be able to bear it. If you don't want to be touched, just kick him out. How happy it is. Why do you have to endure it by yourself? Isn't it because you are in trouble with yourself? It's really stupid. Ning Chui saw the disgust in his eyes, and the veins on his forehead jumped. If this man wasn't Miss Ling's senior brother, and he was still expected to rescue her, he really couldn't help but kick him. Qing Feng glanced at him sideways, shook his head, and said nothing more. He turned around and walked to his box, picked through it, and then brought a stack of talismans over. "Put this talisman away and follow it to find Xiao Si. These are fixation charms. If you encounter a blind soul, just stick them on and they will be fixed, but they can only last for a quarter of an hour." After thinking for a while, he took out a few small red flags with gold edges. These are the formation breaking flags. If Xiaosi is trapped by the formation, you can give the flag to her, she will know how to use it. Ning Chui took the flag and talisman and wrote down everything he said. But seeing that he didn't give him any other talisman, he couldn't help but ask, do you still have the talisman you used before? Qing Feng glanced at him and said, you know what you are good at? I have some, but I can't use the soul-killing talisman Xiaoxi. I think her merits and luck are gone. She shouldn't get involved in killing anymore, otherwise it will be bad for her. Ning Chui did not give up, it doesn't matter. Miss Ling can't use it, but I can. He has killed a lot of people, so it doesn't matter if he adds more ghosts. The soul-destroying talisman is more effective than the immobilizing talisman. Miss Ling's soul must be retrieved as soon as possible. The soul-destroying talisman can be used to quickly defeat the enemy. Qing Feng was a little hesitant. He naturally knew that the soul-killing talisman was better. His favorite was the soul-killing talisman. Although the immobilization talisman can immobilize the ghost, once the time has passed, the ghost can continue to attack, which is really annoying. Seeing Ning Chui's insistence, Qing Feng didn't look forward or backward anymore. He saw that although he had a lot of human lives on his body, he also had a lot of merit and luck. He took out a bunch of soul-killing talismans from the box. Although this talisman is easy to use, you must be careful. Don't hurt you and Xiaoxi, otherwise even if my master is here, you will only end up with your souls scattered. Ning Chui took the talisman and said solemnly, don't worry, I know the importance. Qing Feng waved his hand, pointed at the soft body next to him, and said, go up and lie down while I cast the spell. Remember, find Xiaoxi and bring her back as soon as possible. Don't worry about revenge. We'll talk about it when we get back. Ning Chui nodded, walked over quickly, and lay down on the couch. After the breeze cleans the hands again, relight 3 sticks of sandalwood and start the practice. Soon, Ning Chui's soul stood up from the couch. Looking at the body on the couch, he withdrew his gaze and left following the guidance of the talisman. Ling Chu was having more and more difficulty controlling the big shovel and small hammer. Although I don't know where the system absorbed the energy stone, it allowed her to maintain it for a period of time. But she is in a soul state now, and her magic is also limited. That old dog, Taoist priest Mingzhen, was very capable and actually trapped her with a formation. Even if she wanted to leave, she couldn't leave. Moreover, the ghosts under his control were extremely ferocious. Even with the help of a shovel and a small hammer, she could only kill half of the ghosts. She wanted to kill the old dog at all costs. But what makes her strange is that she can obviously kill him, but she can't use mystical skills. It made her feel like someone had put a barrier on her body that she couldn't break through. This feeling of being able to kill but just not being able to kill is really uncomfortable. Ling Chu, who thought he was fairly calm, could not help but become agitated. At this moment, Taoist Master Mingzhen controlled the ghosts and attacked them again. Ling Chu felt his anger rising slowly, and the aura in his body instantly became chaotic. Taoist priest Mingzhen has been staring at her closely, and he was secretly happy when he saw that her expression was not right. Immediately take out a black rattle. Ling Chu was irritable when she suddenly heard a strange ringing sound, and she knew something was wrong. But he couldn't help but listen, and soon his mind began to become confused. The 2 breaths in her body collided with each other, making her even more uncomfortable. There seemed to be a voice in her head that was tempting her, giving her the idea of killing someone crazily. Ling Chu bit the tip of his tongue and took advantage of the pain to wake up. With a desperate breath, he let the big shovel deal with the ghost, and controlled the small hammer to hit the weird rattle hard. Taoist priest Mingzhen smiled contemptuously. Ring a bell with one hand and cast a spell with the other. Just wanted to destroy the little hammer. Unexpectedly, the small hammer suddenly turned sharply and hit his head. Taoist priest Mingzhen's expression changed. He cast spells to resist and evaded in a panic. Little hammer was chasing after him, But Taoist Master Mingzhen didn't bother to ring the bell anymore and fought back desperately. Although he was not killed by a small hammer in the end, his right arm was broken. The rattle fell to the ground and was smashed with the hammer. Taoist priest Mingzhen covered his arm and howled miserably. He glared at Ling Chu resentfully and took out a soul-calming bell with his left hand. He must make this little disciple of Xianyi's soul fly away today. But before he could ring the soul-killing bell, he suddenly saw a soul-killing talisman rushing towards him. Taoist priest Mingzhen was so frightened that his liver and gallbladder split apart. He immediately turned around and ran away frantically. Soon, there were explosions one after another, followed by shrill and eerie screams. Taoist priest Mingzhen watched helplessly as the ghosts under his control disappeared one after another. The backlash and the rush of fire attacked the heart, and a mouthful of blood spurted out when he opened his mouth. Soul-destroying talismans are not easy to draw, and most Taoist priests will not use them in such large quantities. But Ling Chu knew that there was a person who liked to use soul-killing charms lavishly. Could it be that her third senior brother returned to Beijing and knew something was wrong with her, so he came to rescue her? But when he turned around and saw the person coming, Ling Chu was surprised. "Master Ning, why is it you?" Ning Chui glanced at her quickly and frowned deeply when she saw that her soul was so pale that she could hardly see it. Just as he was about to walk towards her, he was blocked by an invisible force. Ling Chu smiled bitterly. "I was trapped by Mingzhen's old dog's formation." Ning Chui took out the flag and said, "Your third senior brother asked me to bring this over." Ling Chu was overjoyed and said, "Throw the formation flag over." Ning Chui threw out the chess pieces as instructed. Taoist Master Mingzhen looked gloomy, but he was worried about the soul-killing talisman and did not dare to come over. Only dare to control the ghost from a distance and rush over, trying to the formation flag. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 307. Seeing Ning Chui throw the flag, Ling Chu quickly bit his index finger, used his own blood to draw the talisman in the air, and used the formation breaking flag to break the formation. At the same time, I have to use a big shovel and a small hammer to deal with those ghosts. Ning Chui felt her heart tightening when she saw that her soul was getting weaker and weaker. Took out a stack of soul-killing talismans and threw them at the ghosts. Although part of them was destroyed, those behind them came up again and besieged them. Those ghosts are all controlled by Mingzhen. If he is not destroyed first, I don't know how many more he will summon. Ling Chu was concentrating on breaking the formation, when Ning Chui glanced back and withdrew his gaze. With a sullen face, he took out a soul-killing talisman and rushed towards Mingzhen. Mingzhen's face changed drastically when he saw him coming to kill him. He was not afraid of Ning Chui. Mingzhen could see that he did not understand mystical arts, but the soul-killing talismans in his hands made him dare not despise him. The green hills are left and there is no need to worry about having no firewood. Ming really didn't want to die, so he turned around and ran away without even looking at Han Yao, who was lying unconscious on the ground. To prevent Na Ming from trying to lure the tiger away from the mountain, Ning Chui hesitated, stopped, and did not pursue him again. Without Mingzhen's control, those ghosts were quickly wiped out by Ning Chui, the big shovel, and the small hammer. Break. As Ling Chu uttered the last incantation, the broken formation flag quickly impacted, and after a loud explosion, the formation was destroyed. Ling Chu's heart relaxed and he couldn't hold on any longer. Regardless of whether the ground was dirty or not, he collapsed suddenly from exhaustion. Ning Chui quickly stepped forward after killing the last few ghosts. Can you still hold on?" Ling Chu took some time and then managed to stand up. Her third senior brother didn't know how he was deceived, but he actually got Master Ning to agree to leave his body to save her. She had to get Master Ning's soul back quickly, otherwise if something happened, Duke Ning and the Emperor would probably have to join forces to kill her. Ling Chu took a deep breath and stood up from the ground. It's just that she overestimated her body. Before she could fully stand up straight, her vision went dark and she fell forward uncontrollably. Be careful. Ning Chui frowned and quickly grabbed her arm. Subconsciously, he wanted to help her stand upright. He just didn't expect her soul to be so light. He lifted her up hard, and Ling Chuhan was knocked into his arms. Ling Chu's soul was already dizzy, and this collision almost made him faint. The back of my right hand touched something unknown, and suddenly I felt a warm feeling. At this moment, the system's weak prompt tone suddenly sounded. Ding! The best energy stone detected. Ling Chu subconsciously looked along the back of his right hand. It turned out that he accidentally touched the jade pendant hanging on Ning Chui's waist. Ling Chu was about to move away, but his eyes suddenly widened. The system actually absorbed the jade pendant. Ling Chu's head buzzed. This was in front of Ning Chui. Unable to hold it back, she suddenly raised her head and looked at him. Ning Chui was looking down at her apologetically because she had exerted too much force. Just when he was about to ask her if she felt uncomfortable, he happened to see the scene where the jade pendant disappeared. Perhaps this was the second time he saw this scene, and he was not surprised at all. Aware of Ling Chu's gaze, he followed it. The two of them stared at each other. Ling Chu racked his brains and couldn't think of how to explain the disappearance of the jade pendant. Ning Chui didn't speak because he found that her soul was more solid than before. A thought suddenly came to his mind, could it be because of the jade pendant? Seeing Ling Chu's confused expression, he could probably guess what she was thinking. It's just a worthless jade pendant. If it's gone, it's gone. Don't worry. Ling Chu was surprised by his calmness, but also saw that he probably wasn't telling the truth. Although I just took a quick look at it, the jade pendant looked to be of good quality and should be quite valuable. Ning Chui did not tell the truth. That jade pendant was actually a gift from the emperor. Just when he was out of Beijing on errands, the emperor summoned him into the palace. At that time, he had just finished bathing. When his father-in-law came to deliver a message, he was walking in a hurry and didn't realize that he had forgotten to wear the jade pendant. After entering the palace, the emperor saw that his waist was empty. It happened that he had just carved a jade pendant with his own hands a few days ago, so he found an excuse to praise it a few words, and then rewarded him with the jade pendant without any reason. He also asked his father-in-law to hang it up for him with his own hands. Ning Chui had no choice but to take it with him when he went to Beijing on business. Looking across her face, Ning Chui hesitated for a moment, but couldn't help but ask, "Is the jade pendant good for your health?" Master Ning has already seen her changes and cannot deny it. He can only nod his head and say, "Yes, I accidentally used Master Ning's jade pendant. When I feel better, I will go to the jade pavilion to pick out a piece of jade and give it to you as compensation. Is that okay?" "No need, I still have many jade pendants." Before Ning Chui could finish his words, he suddenly heard the distant voice of Qing Feng, carrying a sense of dissatisfaction. "Xiao Si, why don't you come back quickly? Are you thinking you are growing mushrooms?" Ling Chu regained consciousness and twitched the corner of his mouth. It seemed that her third senior brother was still the he had been before after several years. "Let's go." Ning Chui heard King Feng's dissatisfaction and broke the talisman. A strong force came and sucked the two of them away in an instant. When he opened his eyes again, he was already standing in Ling Chu's dormitory. Third senior brother. Ling Chu looked surprised when he saw King Feng's white clothes turning gray. Her senior brother always pays great attention to appearance, but this is the first time she has seen him so unkempt. Qing Feng naturally saw Ling Chu's expression and glared at her with dissatisfaction. "My life is almost gone, why don't you go back quickly?" If it weren't for the fact that he was casting a spell and couldn't interrupt it, he almost couldn't help but hit her on the head with a bang. Although his tone was fierce, there was clearly worry in his eyes. Ling Chu guessed that he must have figured out something was wrong with him and was in a hurry to return to Beijing to save her, so he didn't care about his own image. Silently walked back to the bed and lay back into his body. Ning Chui followed him back to the couch and lay down. As the Qingfeng spell was finished, Ning Chui woke up. But he saw that Ling Chu was not awake yet. Since he saved his junior sister, Qingfeng gave a rare explanation: although Xiaxi's soul has been successfully recovered, it doesn't mean everything will be fine. Let her have a good sleep first, nourish her soul, and then help her regain her merit and luck. Ling Chu's soul was recovered, and he finally fulfilled his master's instructions. Qingfeng could no longer bear the dirt on his body. He couldn't wait to say to Xiaji, "Okay, take me to wash and eat quickly. I'm about to starve to death." After Xiaji left with Qingfeng, Yinsha hurriedly returned with more than a dozen pieces of jade. Yinsha felt uneasy and didn't know what happened to Miss Ling. He went back to the mansion to collect the banknotes, but met the father-in-law from the palace who came to the Ningguo Duke's mansion to deliver an oral message. It turned out that the emperor heard that Ning Chui suddenly returned to Beijing and wanted to send him to the palace to see him. But Yinsha couldn't bear to let Ning Chui not even see Ling Chu for the last time. Had no choice but to bite the bullet and enter the palace on his behalf. End of chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 309. After coming out of the palace, Yinsha rushed to Qiu Pavilion with his silver notes to buy jade. It's just that he didn't know much about jade, so he hesitated for a long time and didn't know where to start. After all, what he wanted to buy was not 10 taels, but 100,000 taels. That was all Ning Chui's banknotes. If the purchase fails, it will be equivalent to all the money being wasted. In order not to offend Ning Chui, the owner of Qiu Pavilion suggested that he buy cut jade directly. Yinsha waited up and finally bought the most expensive jade in Qiu Pavilion. Although they are expensive, they are all cut jade, so you don't have to worry about the money being wasted. But even so, Yinsha still felt distressed and panicked. 100,000 taels were exchanged for a dozen broken stones. I don't know why the adults asked him to buy so many jade stones. Yinsha took so long to come back. He was originally worried that Ning Chui would be dissatisfied, but he didn't say anything. She only asked him to move all the jade stones into Miss Ling's bedroom, and then waved him out. Ning Chui found an excuse and sent away the serving maid. Looking at Ling Chu, who was lying quietly on the bed, he picked up a piece of jade and put it next to her, then put her hand on it. Almost in the blink of an eye, the jade disappeared under Ning Chui's eyes. Ding! High-grade energy stones detected, which can help the system repair. Ling Chu heard the system's beep while he was sleeping, and was surprised where the system absorbed the jade. But I quickly remembered Ning Chui's jade pendant. Could it be that the system absorbed Master Ning's jade again? Yes, it must be him. Except for Ning Chui, no one else knows that she can absorb jade. If anyone else saw this scene, they would probably think Ling Chu was some kind of monster. But Ning Chui didn't even blink. Seeing that Ling Chu's face looked better than before, he immediately took another piece of jade and put it next to her. Ling Chu listened to a series of ding-ding-ding notification sounds from the system, and almost felt so anxious that his soul came out of his body again. She wanted to stop him, but she was too weak now. In addition, her senior brother had just cast several spells on her body in order to stabilize her soul, so she couldn't wake up at all. Ling Chu was so anxious that he rummaged through the system, but he couldn't find any function that could prevent the system from absorbing jade. Watching the system absorb 17 pieces of high-grade jade before stopping, Ling Chu felt a chill in his heart. I just want to cry without tears. The ones that the system absorbed when she dealt with the 100 ghosts earlier must also have belonged to Lord Ning. How is she going to pay back so much jade? Even if she had a system to scan, she might not be able to find so many high-quality jade stones to compensate Ning Chui. What's more, she doesn't have that much money to buy jade. Even if I don't know how much those jade stones are worth, they are definitely worth a lot of money. Ling Chu is simply getting bigger and bigger. How come she owes Master Ning more and more? Wrong. Master Ning, he must be crazy. She is not related to him, so why did he give her so many jade stones? Could it be that the system accidentally absorbed his jade? That's not right either. This is her dormitory. Why would Master Ning's jade be placed in her dormitory? Ning Chui, I didn't know that Ling Chu was going crazy with anxiety. After seeing the jade stones disappear, her face became better, her breathing also improved, and she finally let go of her worries. Just then he got up and left. He suddenly returned to Beijing and had to go to the palace to see the emperor. Yin Sha looked at Ning Chui's back silently and saw that his hands were empty and his mouth opened and closed several times and then closed again. Wei Feng felt as if he was scratching his heart with 100 claws. Did your lord give all those jade pendants and jade stones to Miss Ling? It's a big deal, but do you know that jade pendants can't just be given to a girl's family? That is a token of love. Should he remind the adults? Ling Chu didn't know that Wei Feng was tangled up in his inner slander. After the system absorbed the jade, she quickly fell asleep. Dingyuan Prince's mansion. Princess Dingyuan has not woken up since she fell asleep for no reason. If it weren't for the decoctions prescribed by the imperial doctor, the Dingyuan palace would have held a funeral long ago. However, although the princess was not dead, the whole house was filled with gloom and misery. Han Lin came from his yard early in the morning, entered the princess's bedroom, and sat on the brocade stool next to her bed. He stretched out his hand to tuck the corners of the quilt and said slowly, "Mother and concubine, my father has finished slaying the bandits and is on his way back to Beijing. You have slept for so long, is it time to wake up? If you don't wake up, your father will definitely blame his son for not taking good care of you when he comes back. Mother concubine, can you bear to see my legs broken by my father? Mother, I am not married yet. If my father breaks my legs, no girl will be willing to marry me. You can't bear to see your son in such misery, right? So, you'd better wake up quickly." Ever since the imperial doctor announced that there was nothing he could do about the princess's illness, even the miraculous doctor who was called in could do nothing. Han Lin could only stay with her and talk about it every day, hoping to wake her up in this way. Princess Dingyuan closed her eyes, feeling angry and funny. Listening to him quietly, waiting for a while without hearing anyone else speaking, then quietly opened his eyes. Han Lin was so happy that he just wanted to call his mother and concubine. Princess Dingyuan winked at him quickly, and then quickly closed her eyes. Han Lin had a surprised look on his face and could only swallow back the words as they came to his lips. His eyes paused on her face, then turned around and found an excuse to send the maid who was waiting aside. Mother's concubine. Princess Dingyuan opened her eyes when she heard the maid leaving. Han Lin was surprised and happy, but at the same time he was confused. Concubine, are you pretending to be faint? Princess Dingyuan shook her head. I am not pretending. If Shuchu hadn't saved my life, I would have really died this time. Han Lin frowned. Did Miss Ling save his mother and concubine? But as far as he knew, Miss Ling had not been to Dingyuan Palace since her mother-in-law fell into a coma. How on earth was she rescued? Han Lin thought for a while but couldn't figure it out. Mother, concubine, what's going on? Princess Dingyuan glanced toward the door. After looking away, she said with a sad expression, it should be Yao Yao who made my mother and concubine unconscious. Han Lin was stunned. How could it be Yao Yao? Why did she want to harm you? He thought about many reasons why his mother and concubine were unconscious, but he never thought about Han Yao. Yao Yao, she may not have been born to a concubine. Han Lin's eyes widened in surprise, and he even reached out to touch her forehead involuntarily. Is the concubine still asleep, or is she confused due to high fever? Princess Dingyuan knew that he didn't believe it, so she could only suppress her voice and quickly tell everything that happened before she fell into coma. Han Yao, who was raised by her own hands, was ruthless enough to harm her. The princess didn't know how many people around her were loyal. Her husband has not returned from the capital to suppress bandits. The only one she can trust now is her eldest son. Han Lin's expression kept changing. The princess knew that he would be here for a while, so it would be hard for her to believe this. In fact, if she hadn't experienced it personally, she wouldn't have believed that Han Yao would cruelly harm her. End of chapter. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 310. Chapter 310. Thanks to the boy who loves reading historical novels for the reward of 800 starting coins. Thanks to book friends who love reading historical novels, Mumu Tata, Time is Like Dust. DD, Kayuning, Chenzio by 110, Shikao Yutudo and other book friends for their monthly votes. Thank you for this moment, laugh with you, today's time, pros. BA, mobile phone, 15021620352969, come on elegance, Xianbin, Yunyun Zongshen, 201703181914308835, Penyong Fang, Forget Me Not, Kingsha Makeup, UN1, 202-303-2718. Add, 202302084311051, Lanianjiang, 20230121012702243, Happy Baby, Pros. BA, Hacked Book Friends keep checking in again, bet Tax's head is sleepy, Sankai. DB, China Fuse, Why It Gets Old, 2020908085043919, 201811281005067006, Chen, Lalang Zixi, Daoyo. EB, Tibijan Future, Ixixi, Lover, Life is Bright. Feng Kishan, Colorful Life, 641,417, I Will Get Old, I Can't Think of Ming, Fei, Chen, UN1, Care, Betaxi's Head is Sleepy, The Hacked Book Friends Keep Checking In Again, A. Z, China Fuse, 854-729, Yunyun Zongshen, Azhongxing, Pros. BA, CHLWCH, Life is Bright. Deo Skarhong and other book friends recommendation votes support it. Thanks to Hongxiu and Xiaoxiang for supporting book friends. Lately, I have been feeling unwell. I couldn't bear it anymore and took a day off yesterday. As a result, all promotions planned for this book were cancelled. Very depressed and sad. Even if it has not fully recovered, I still have to grit my teeth and update today. If it weren't for everyone's support, I almost wouldn't have been able to persevere. Fortunately, I have received concern from many book friends. Thank you to 2023105200836319, 202208270559407988, 201901032196569777, and other book friends. Thanks to the many book friends who commented and urged updates. Thank you all for persisting in subscribing and voting. Thank you all for your persistence. Thank you for accompanying me all the way. Grateful. 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 End of chapter. I made a fortune by raiding houses in ancient times. Author, Half-Life Calligraphy. Chapter 311. Thinking of Ling Chu, Princess Dingyuan was anxious and said, Linur, Go to Chu Chu's place to find out if anything happened to her. Also, you should go to Zhuangzi as soon as possible and personally take Nanny Feng back to your home quietly. I want to ask you what happened back then. Remember not to let others know about my waking up. Although Han Lin still couldn't believe it, he knew the seriousness of the matter. If it was really Han Yao who made the mother-in-law unconscious, she could do it once, but she would do it countless times. He had to find out the truth of the matter quickly while she didn't reply when she went to pray for blessings. Han Lin did not dare to be careless when it came to the life of the princess. He first served the princess some tea and snacks under cover, and then found the most trustworthy maid to hold the lives of her family in his hands to ensure that she would not be bribed by others. Following this, some arrangements were made for the guards in the mansion. In the palace, Princess Ding Yuan was poisoned by pufferfish poison, and Ling Chu used the antidote to cure the poison. Han Lin remembered that the thank you gift had not been given to Ling Chu, so he found the housekeeper to prepare the thank you gift before sending it to Ling Chu's house. Han Lin learned that there were no other elders at Ling Chu's house, and it was not easy for him to come to the house as a foreigner without confirming her identity. He handed the gift of thanks to the concierge, thanked him a lot, and made some insinuations for a while. Although I didn't ask for any news, I felt a little relieved to see that it was not in vain. After Han Lin left, he hurried to Zhuangzi to pick up Grandma Feng. Unexpectedly, I met her at the door of Zhuangzi. Mother Feng had a look of surprise on her face. "Your Majesty, why are you here? I heard that the princess was ill and was preparing to go back to the house to take a look." People were coming and going at the entrance of Zhuangzi. Han Lin said vaguely, "I'm just here to pick you up. When my mother-in-law sees you, maybe her illness will be cured." Mother Feng was worried. Okay, I may not have seen the princess for a long time, and I'm panicking." Han Lin took Nanny Feng back, but did not enter the house directly. There were many people in Ding Yuan Prince's mansion, so Han Lin waited until late at night before taking Nanny Feng over the wall and entering. Because they had replaced the patrolling guards of the palace with their own confidants, the two of them were not blocked and reached the princess's yard smoothly. "Princess, it's great that you're okay." Grandma Feng was extremely happy when she saw the awake Princess Ding Yuan. Princess Ding Yuan waited for a long time. After asking about Nanny Feng's physical condition, she said directly, "Nanny, do you still remember when I gave birth to Yao Yao in Kongxuguan?" Mother Feng did not expect that the princess would suddenly ask about this matter, and was startled. Seeing her serious and eager expression, I couldn't help but be surprised. Why did the princess suddenly think of this? Mother Feng is not only the princess's dowry mother, but also her nanny. The princess has always trusted her, and she didn't hide it from her now. After hearing this, Grandma Feng looked surprised. "The princess is saying that the county owner may have been changed. Do you still remember what happened back then?" Mother Feng knew that the matter was serious and tried her best to recall what had happened in the past. At that time, Princess Ding Yuan was pregnant with Liujia. She did not sleep well during that period and was a little restless. The wife asked her to go to Kongxu Temple to offer incense and pray for blessings. Unexpectedly, they would meet refugees from other states. The maids around Grandma Feng and the princess were all washed away. To make matters worse, in addition to the refugees, there are also a large group of gangsters. Grandma Feng remembered that when someone saw her wearing jewelry, they rushed over to grab it. She subconsciously resisted, but was knocked unconscious. When she woke up, she found that the princess was missing. At that time, she and the maids were searching everywhere like crazy. Later, I finally found it in the side compartment. The princess had given birth to a child. The princess fainted after giving birth and was in critical condition at the time. Nanny Feng was in a hurry to get a doctor to take care of the children, and she was also busy getting people to send messages back home. Han did not pay much attention to Mrs. Dong and her twins. I only remember that when she found the princess, Mrs. Dong had a nanny beside her to take care of her and the child. Princess Ding Yuan frowned, so, it was the nun next to Dong who found our side room first. Mr. Fen nodded, frowned, and thought about it for a while, and then said slowly, I remember vaguely that the maid who took us to the side room seemed to be the maid serving Dong. Also, after the old slave moved you to a side carriage, the nun next to Dong tried to get close to the old slave several times, praising the old slave for taking care of the children. The nanny said that she wanted to learn some experience in taking care of children from me, and she liked to approach the county boss intentionally or unintentionally. Mother Fen was worried about the safety of the princess at that time. She just thought that the grandmother really wanted to learn how to raise children from her, so she didn't think much about it. But now that I think about it, I feel a little suspicious. After many years, and because Grandma Fen was old, she racked her brains and thought about it for a long time, but she could only remember these suspicious things. Ling Chu didn't expect that he would sleep for 3 days before waking up. If Qing Feng hadn't kept insisting that she was fine, those maids in Xiaji would have been frightened. Luckily, I finally saw her open her eyes. Ling Chu frowned, I slept for 3 days. I don't know if that old dog Mingzhen has run away. Seeing her dissatisfied expression, Qing Feng hit her on the head with a bang. Why, do you think your life is too long? Xiaci, I didn't expect that after several years of not seeing each other, you are getting more and more stupid, and you almost even killed yourself. My life was lost. If the master hadn't sent me a message asking me to come back and save you, I'd probably have to work as a foot washing maid for the Lord of Hell this time. Qing Feng complained bitterly to Ling Chu, saying that in order to rush back as quickly as possible to save her, he abandoned all his luggage. I drove for half a month and suffered a lot. Most importantly, in order to rush on the road, he did not take a shower or change clothes for more than half a month, which completely ruined his image of a suave, dandy, and handsome young man. Listening to his series of self-promotion, Ling Chu's lips twitched again and again. She knew that this third senior brother had always been very particular about his image, and it was really not easy for him to do this to save her. Since he really saved her, Ling Chu didn't refute a word and listened to him silently. After finally finishing speaking, Qing Feng changed his tone and said, by the way, did anything strange happen to you after you returned to Beijing? Ling Chu looked at him in confusion. Why do third senior brothers ask this? Not long after Ling Chu left the Taoist temple, Master Xianyi discovered that her life chart had changed a lot, and it seemed to be blocked by a fog. He tried many methods but could not figure it out. Master tried his best, but he only calculated that you were in danger of a big disaster. Originally, he wanted to return to the capital in person, but he was too far away from senior brother and the others at the time, and was worried that he would not be able to make it in time, so he sent a letter asking me to rush back to the capital as soon as possible to save you. The original owner is dead. Although the body is still hers, the soul has been replaced by someone else. Your natal chart will naturally change. She couldn't say just this.